Xbox 360 was the first console I ever had. I'd consider it my childhood console. In fact, the 7th generation of consoles, being the Xbox 360, the PS3 and the Wii, were my childhood, and I have nothing but fond memories of those days. It's what got me into gaming and made me the person I am today. But the Xbox 360 was, in my opinion, the winner of the 7th gen console war. Both the Wii and the PS3 sold more units, but the Xbox 360 had arguably better exclusives, more power, and is probably the main reason digital games are as prevalent as they are today. Now, being a Nintendo fan, I of course love the Wii, but to me, the 360 was just leagues better. I mean, the Wii was great for family stuff and fun games to play for maybe a couple of hours, but I could sit and just play the 360 and the games on it all day long. It launched on the 22nd of November in the US and then throughout December in Europe and Japan, and launched with an alright lineup, but nothing to write home about. There were 14 titles, the main ones being Call of Duty 2, Need for Speed Most Wanted, Quake 4 and Perfect Dark Zero. The rest were massively filler, mostly sports games and a game literally called Gun. What a thrill. So whilst it did have quantity and definitely a fair amount of variety on its first day, there were no real system sellers here. None of them were too high quality, and the ones that were multi-platforms. But the system was supported massively for the rest of its life, turning out to be the system that I actually own the most games for out of my entire collection. I will unashamedly say that I poured hundreds of hours into Minecraft on this, which, yes, is available on pretty much everything and was back in the day, but the 360 was always the best way to play it back then. I remember having a bunch of mates join my world every evening after school, and we put so much effort into building this beautiful paradise where we each had our own house, and we even went on and took on the Ender Dragon together. I remember us all getting freaked out when we first read about Herobrine online, and it just terrified us. We went around putting up defences all around our houses. I remember learning about the glitch where you could use a painting as a secret door, and we just put it everywhere. I could make a whole video just talking about my experiences with Minecraft, and trust me, I probably will one day, but there was so much more on this console. Of course, being so young, I never really had many of the AAA titles back in the day, and I'm starting to go back and pick some of them up recently. Like, I got Arkham Asylum, Skyrim and Halo 4 for £10 total a few weeks ago. But the Connect series of games were my bread and butter. Connect Sports, Connect Adventure, Connect Joyride were some of my favourite games. I used to spend hours trying to go up each difficulty on Connect Sports. I must have poured hours into the football game on it. And of course, this was the system that gave me access to one of the game franchises that gives me the most nostalgia looking back on it. Skylanders. I know it's frowned upon now and people don't really like it, but Skylanders was an incredible game series. I've still never got my hands on the first one, but I played Skylanders Giants with my sister for hours and hours, and yeah, I know a fair few games I've mentioned are multi-platform, but there was something that drove my family to buy everything on the 360. We had a Wii and a PS3 at the time, but the only stuff we had on the Wii were the exclusives, and for the PS3, just SingStar and a couple of FIFA titles.
I'm burning through the sky, yeah. 200 degrees, that's what they call me, Mr. Fahrenheit.
What a thrill. But by far the best game on the system for me was this. I love this game. Another game that I just absolutely adored as a kid, and I don't even like racing games. The entire Forza series is incredible to me. I love each game for its own reason, but this one just brings me back so many memories. I'd say that back in the 360 days, this was one of my favourite games, and probably still is to this day, just for the nostalgia for it. Don't get me wrong, I love Horizon 2, 3 and 4, but they never quite got me as immersed as the first one did. Maybe it was an age thing, I don't know. But I would drive around for ages in the sandbox world, just regularly trying to destroy the car I was driving beyond repair. I remember finding a bunch of little mounds or ramps or something in this little tiny area and just flying off them and trying to break the car for about an hour and a half, much to my dad's dismay. Now, I was lucky enough to never experience any of the issues with the console as far as I can remember, but trust me, there were a lot. I think about 1 in 5 Xbox 360s would break just for no reason and have to be sent back in the early years. It was one of, if not the most unreliable game system of all time. It had so many issues, especially at launch. For example, oh no.
Your Xbox 360 has the red ring of death.
If something went wrong with your 360 and you saw the doomed red ring of death, you were screwed. A lot of the time it meant that your system had just bricked itself and there was very little you could do to repair it. There are a bunch of little issues like this, but this was by far the most common. The most probable reason for all these issues was because of the fact that the console started production only 69 days before release. Because of this, they couldn't make enough consoles to meet the high demand, so they had to rush through, causing quality checks to be less precise, and a lot of duff units being sold to unaware customers. The console picked itself up in the next 8 years before the Xbox One's launch in 2013, gaining multiple redesigns and great games. Some of the console's best exclusive titles include Halo 3, Left 4 Dead, and Fable 2, with third-party games such as Red Dead Redemption, GTA 5, Skyrim, and Arkham Asylum selling extremely well on the system. The system itself sold 84 million units worldwide between 2005 and 2013, which actually placed it as the worst-selling console of its generation, with the Wii and PS3 selling 100 million and 89 million units respectively. This seems weird to me because the PS3 seems to be unanimously thought of as the worst console of the 7th generation. Whilst it was of course more powerful than the Wii, it massively lacked the charm that either the Wii or Xbox 360 had. Sony seemed to have gotten cocky after the PlayStation 2 and sort of rushed through and released an underwhelming console. In my opinion, the Xbox deserved to have sold a lot more than it did. I mean, 84 million isn't bad by any means, but it's in many people's opinion the best console of the 7th generation, and by far my favourite console of all time, apart from maybe the Switch.
You've got